One question I always wanted to ask you, how did this get started? Pretty much, like just
Yeah.
randomly off the couch, like, I'm gonna build the biggest leg lock community on Instagram.
Well, to be honest, this is something that I never thought was going to be possible. Actually, when I started this account, I started it with a different name. I used to teach martial arts. I used to be a Taekwondo instructor. That's actually how I got into martial arts. And a buddy of mine, he invited me to train one day, and he's like, "Hey, do you ever grapple and do jujitsu?" And like your typical, answer, as a guy that has no knowledge of grappling, no knowledge of jujitsu, I'm like, "No, I don't want to be rolling around with some dude on the ground." I'm like, that's weak, that's lame. You can always just stand up and punch someone. And when you do taekwondo, you do a lot of fancy, flashy kicks. And sometimes there's not a lot of actual sparring or hardcore full contact. So you kind of just assume that it's going to work when you need it. So he's like, well, how about we do some sparring? And we'll go light and, nothing too crazy. And, you do your stuff and, I'll do jujitsu. I'm like, all right. So I'm like, doing my little thing. I'm dancing around and throwing some kicks, throwing like those spin kicks. And he's just, managing the distance and closes the distance, does a leg sweep, takes me down, mounts. And the moment we hit the ground, the reality that everyone faces, right? You go, oh my God, like I have no idea what I'm doing. All those years of taekwondo and a stand up in that moment just stopped, like they didn't work. So, he offered to teach me. So, he taught me some moves, and he ends up teaching me this thing called a heel hook. And he's like, whatever you do, don't ever do this in an actual match. It's very dangerous, and it could, ruin somebody's knee. And I just was really intrigued by that, like that one move and the mechanics and all the, the things that go into, making the heel hook work. So, did that, train a couple times with them. And, but that was that, nothing really came of it. I'd never really joined an academy. And then, a couple months later, I ended up tearing my ACL. And when I tore my ACL, I'm like, that's it. I'm not going to be able to kick anymore. I was very limited to mobility. And the only thing that I could really do without any pain was jujitsu, even though like it's pretty, dynamic and dangerous at times. It wasn't as hard on my knee. And because I was doing physical therapy, I was becoming a little bit more knowledgeable on, certain ligaments and how the knee works. And so just kind of all of those things slowly came together, and it made me start to become a little bit more intrigued with not only grappling, but with leg locks. And around this time, Riley Bodycomb had just come out with a DVD. And this is like before I got into Instagram. And honestly, I think before like the massive explosion of jiu-jitsu on Instagram. So everything was through YouTube, and I was watching a lot of YouTube videos, and I would just grab a couple of my friends, a couple guys, and be like, hey, let me practice with you, let me try this on you. And so I ended up buying this DVD, and I was just kind of copying and emulating. So just one day, I was at home and just went on Instagram. I made an account, and I realized how many other videos were out there and how much information was there. And I just went into this rabbit hole and just became completely obsessed with not only grappling, but with leg locks. For no other reason other than the fact that I was just intrigued by them. And I started posting my own videos, and I would come up with my own things, and I had no idea what the hell I was doing. If I've deleted a lot of the videos, but if you watch some of my original videos before I started reposting and doing stuff, I'm like, man, I was just a floppy white belt, just making stuff on the go. And just little by little, just started meeting people, started networking. And I was like, it's about time I joined an academy. And I looked up places in San Diego. And I actually, the first classes that I took were with Saulo Ribeiro at the University of Jiu-Jitsu here in San Diego. But just something about the gi, just again, nothing on them. I mean, Saulo it's a legend, and for a reason. Amazing classes, great instruction. But something about the gi just never really called to me. And another buddy of mine, he had taken classes at 10th Planet, and he was like, well, if you're looking for just straight no-gi, do 10th Planet. That's all they do. And that was that. And just that's basically how the whole leg locker thing started.
Ah, I see. So, well, if you take me back to the time that you pretty much got ragdolled for the first time by your friend,
Yeah. Yeah.
like what was it? Was he training full time? Like, what was he, like a high level black belt, or
this
was he just
this is
like?
no, he was a freaking white belt that hadn't trained in 2 years, and he was pursuing music, so he was a DJ, so he was partying and drinking, and he was out of shape. And at that time I was a second degree in taekwondo, so I thought I was a shit. I'm like, look at all my flashy kicks and all this shit that I can do. And here's my buddy who ragdolls me, hasn't trained in years, and even with that limited amount of jiu-jitsu that he knew, just completely just overpowered me. And after that, I was like, man, this thing is special. Like, I really need to get into this.
So, oh, that's so demoralizing.
Oh, totally. It's totally. I went home and I just looked at my belt. I'm like, what is this? I'm just gonna burn this thing.